Hello, it's your friendly YouTuber FoZero here, coming at you with a little bit of a different kind of video today. Today I'm taking a look at the dev diary of the announcement for CK3 that we got at the time of this recording yesterday on March 5th for the new DLC Tours and Tournaments that is going to be coming out. My guess is probably June sometime. A lot of people that I've been seeing online and in some circles have been really kind of hating on the Tours and Tournaments DLC since we've got the announcement, and also a lot of the past dev diaries, and just kind of the overall direction that Paradox seems to be trying to take CK lately. So I figured I would just kind of toss my hat into the ring, offer up some of my own opinions, and remember, just take all of this with a grain of salt, because in the end, this is really just one person's opinion on a video game. So I mean, feel free to feel however you want about the new DLC. This is just going to be what I think. Now, as it says here, it is expanding on something that they mentioned before, where they want to reinforce the connection between character and map. And I think this is a really, really great way of doing this. I think that the idea of tours and tournaments and your character moving around the map, as you can see in this dev screenshot here of the Duke of Bohemia setting out on a tour all around his realm and visiting all these people with different things at different stops. I think that this is something that I kind of expected, knowing that, again, their goal was to reinforce the connection between character and map, and I think it's a really good direction to take the game. One of my biggest gripes about CK, I think if I had to give one right now, is just the fact that after a while it feels like the game runs out of unique content in each game. I feel like once you get a lot of the events memorized and you've seen them a certain amount of times, then it kind of takes the fun out of it, because there really is no depth to the events. That's something that I would like a lot more. There's a lot more depth to it and a lot more kind of branching paths, different kind of create your own storyline, so that even when you're seeing the same event multiple times, that's going to mean something depending on your current character, depending on your current playthrough. The options, even though they may be the same between different playthroughs, are going to wind up meaning different things depending on your character. So for example, in Royal Court, I was absolutely stoked for the actual Royal Court, Hold Court decisions, and all of the events that came along with it, but now having to actually hold court, I see it more of as a nuisance, because the events are structured in such a way that there's always going to be a right answer for the events, and once you figure out what the right answer is, that generally never changes. So, I mean, when you're facing an option that just only gives you benefits versus options that give you maybe a few bigger benefits, but also with big drawbacks, you're just going to figure out the event option with the largest net gain, and then take that every time, unless you're doing like some really dedicated role-playing. I think that this has the potential to take what they've already started doing and put it in more of a flavorful and kind of more depth-ridden, I don't really know how to describe it, more deep, that also feels weird, but take it in a direction that seems to be good for the game overall. I know a lot of people are kind of beefing with this DLC already for not kind of fixing a lot of the mechanics that seem to be missing compared when you compare CK3 with CK2, because CK2 with full DLC, that has just a lot of content, a lot of mechanics, and it is a really great game. Like, I have to give it to them. CK2 is a fantastic game. CK2 was the very first computer game that I ever got on Steam, and before that it was one of the very first computer games that I ever played. So CK2 does have a very special place in my heart. I've put hundreds of hours into CK2, and it's a fantastic game. That being said, I do really enjoy the direction that CK3 is going in currently, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this DLC and its development process kind of plays out. So let's get more into the nitty-gritty of what is actually going on in the DLC here. It says that they have updated and revamped feasts, hunts, and pilgrimages completely, which is fantastic. I love that they're taking this more from just like a 3 to 4 event chain that kind of makes sense roleplay-wise sometimes, but again, like I said before, you always are going to have a right answer when you're doing those event chains, and hopefully it's going to have something, some event changes and some different options that you can go on to give your character a bit more depth. says there's now a reason to hunt in a specific forest within your domain, as a ferocious wolf or legendary stag might have been spotted there. So again, that's just, that to me, that sounds like things that you can do if you want, that will have some benefits for you if you choose to invest the time into doing it. But it's something that you can probably ignore for a certain character if you really want to. If you just don't really like the way that they've revamped hunts or revamped feasts, it sounds like something that you can probably get by just ignoring entirely. Which, I mean, again, that's something that people probably aren't going to be very satisfied with, as in I don't really like the way that they did this. I wish instead of just ignoring it, I would have got X piece of content instead. But that can be said of anything ever. I mean, people are always going to have ways that they would have preferred doing it. I think implementing something in a way that if people don't like it, then they don't really have to interact with it too much is probably going to be a good thing. So I am all thumbs up so far as we're moving through this. Pilgrimages will now be an epic journey, potentially taking years if you're going far, making it necessary for a regent to rule in your stead. So they're bringing back regents, which is very, very, very nice. All activities have dedicated interfaces with easily accessible information and beautiful art to set the scene. I mean, this just all sounds like positives to me. Pilgrimages being as fast as they were really seemed extremely, extremely unrealistic. I never really liked the way that they worked. Beforehand, we just kind of toss some gold and then your character sets off for, say, their Hajj if you're playing as a Muslim character, or say they're traveling from Britain all the way to Jerusalem as a Catholic to try and make this pilgrimage. Into territory that is controlled by the hostile Muslims, and they're just kind of having a dandy old time. It just doesn't really make any sense, and I'm glad to see them expand on it. Grand tournaments, so another one of the namesakes of the DLC, are where you get to test your mettle, spectacles to be announced far and wide, with rewards ranging from precious trinkets to fabulous prizes. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole paragraph to you, but it seems like there's going to be a lot of different ways that characters can interact with grand tournaments, depending on how you spec your character, which again is going to be fantastic. It's not just going to be for martial spec characters. If you're in need of renown, hosting tournaments yourself will grow your standing significantly, as rulers from foreign realms come flocking to join the fateful grounds, eager to compete. What this reminds me of, actually, I think very few people are probably going to get this or know what I'm talking about. This DLC really reminds me of a book series that I have read called either The Camelot Chronicles or A Dream of Eagles, depending on which country you live in and when it came out, by Jack White. Fantastic book series, love it. It's about the legend of King Arthur, taking place in Britain after Rome had withdrawn, and it goes all the way through his grandfather. It's a fantastic book series. I highly recommend it. It's more of like a historically plausible rendition of events. Fantastic, but it has a lot of this, of the like interpersonal relationships, building your renown, traveling around your lands, and really interacting with the people that construct your realm. And I think that might be kind of inflating my expectations, since I am equating it to this like legendary book series that I've read. But these are kind of the vibes that I'm getting from this, and I'm really excited about it. And I think, having compared it to a fantasy novel, that I should probably now take the time to address the whole roleplay versus min-max tension that seems to be going on in the CK3 community sometimes. There's a lot of people that really enjoy the aspect of CK2, and that there is a way to play CK2 optimally, or at least close to optimally. And a lot of the aspects of the game are kind of tailored towards optimal play. You, as the player, controlling your video game, you want to play it as optimally as possible in order to have the best results, because that's how some people have fun. Other people, kind of on the flip side of the coin, like inserting themselves in the shoes of their character and having more depth in the kind of events and shenanigans that their character can get into, in order for them to kind of make decisions not as a player, but as that character themselves. CK3, at least now, in the first few DLCs that we've had, a good example of this is Friends and Foes. They're really focused on just interpersonal relationships entirely, and now this one is also kind of going along a similar vein. It seems like CK3 is really trying to hammer down allowing people to immerse themselves in this new world that they have created for us. And that, I mean, you can look all the way back from when we first found out that CK3 was going to have 3D graphics and 3D character models. They really are trying to hammer home these characters being as close to living, breathing characters as we can possibly get on on the screen. So I don't think that this direction that it's going in is bad. I do think that some players are going to like it more than others, but maybe down the line, they're probably going to wind up adding in more mechanics, fleshing out a lot of the mechanics that are still kind of clunky in the game right now, because a lot of the game mechanics, you know, they aren't really working quite right. I think that's pretty obvious, or at least they aren't working up to the standards that we learned to expect from Crusader Kings 2. But again, this is going to take time. You know, what we've learned from Paradox is that their games take a while to really get going and develop into the masterpieces that we learned to love. I mean, look at EU4. Off the top of my head, didn't EU4 come out in like 2013? Isn't EU4 like 10 years old? So, I mean, if you go back and play EU4 1.0 or EU4 after 2, 3, 4 DLCs, it's not even the same game. So, I mean, we don't even really know where Crusader Kings 3 is going to head in the next however many years. So I implore people to, well, you can go ahead and express your opinions on tours and tournaments and all of the progress that has been made on CK3 thus far. But I do think that it is going in a good direction, at least for players like me who are kind of not really firmly planted in the optimal play camp, but also not really firmly rooted in the RP camp either. I think it really is going down a great direction for the casual player. And I think that as a game development company, you really sometimes have to cater to the casual players. There's a lot more stuff in the bottom of the dev diary about what exactly we can expect in grand tours across our realm, also in grand weddings and all of these grand events. We can have our own red wedding from Game of Thrones if we want, or we can have these big events that allow us to marry way above our station. And I think that will be something that I'm going to reserve my judgment on until we get a bit more details on how exactly those will work, because I can see those being very nice, but also a royal pain, depending on how well it's executed. So I'm going to take one brief second just to talk about Regents coming back before I kind of wrap up all of my thoughts and let you all get on with your day if you've managed to watch all 12 minutes and 21 seconds of this so far. But I think bringing Regents back is something that is much needed, especially if we're kind of trying to tie our character down to the map a bit more. Again, it's something like with the grand events that I just mentioned. It's going to really depend on the execution here and how exactly they do it. They do mention that you will have some opportunities to seize the throne should you be doing a good job, with varying degrees of bloodshed and a myriad of other changes that we haven't really gotten into yet. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of this is going to come down to execution. I think that this first dev diary does a great job of kind of laying down the path that we're going to be going down as we head into summer. And overall, I think it's a good one. What do you guys think? I mean, let me know in the comments. If you've been watching my videos, I mean, I'm assuming that you're probably in a similar camp as I am, where you're not really firmly rooted in playing optimally at all times and really kind of min-maxing some of the finer mechanics of the game, but you're also not really firmly rooted in the role-playing aspect of it either. I kind of have always been kind of trying to shoot right down the middle of it and get the best of both worlds as much as I can, where I try and play the game well from a player standpoint, but also kind of capitalize on some of the more role-play aspects that the game has to offer. That's why I've been favoring this game much more than, say, the EU4 that I have about 3 times the hours in so far. So I don't know. What do you think? These are just my thoughts. So I would guess while we wait for tours and tournaments. I keep wanting to say tours and tournaments. Tours and tournaments. While we keep waiting for this, I'm going to keep making some content. Another video should hopefully be coming you guys' way soon. But unfortunately, my addiction to League of Legends has returned, which is kind of stalling my productivity in playing Crusader Kings 3. But don't worry, I haven't forgotten about y'all. So take care, stay safe, stay kind, and I'll talk to y'all next time.